Okay, so what I wanted to do today was give just one PowerPoint slash lecture on this chapter 6, 7, 8 thing that I've created. The Stearns book talks about the spread of Islam in chapters 6, 7, and 8, so we've combined it as one unit. If you haven't done so far, I would go to Crash Course. You'll see an overview of Islam. Some of that stuff, of course, was discussed in class. The Crusades is something that we're going to study from the European perspective, but obviously it impacts the Middle Eastern perspective, so I would watch it. Mansa Musa is something that we're going to look at this week, looking at Africa and Islam. Those are the three I'd watch. Now, the Mongols are going to be mentioned in this because that is the demise of the Abbasid Empire, the Abbasid dynasty, but maybe that's just taking it too far for how many videos you're going to watch in just 1 week. But alright, so here is my presentation for today. I've creatively called it the other stuff. This is just stuff that I think truly is going to be on the AP exam, on AP tests, on things you should know, but I know that we didn't cover it in class. So, first slide. What I've done here is I went into chapter 6, chapter 7, and chapter 8 and found how Peter Stearns addressed women in the Middle East over time. So I created a PowerPoint that is going to trace it from the beginning to the middle to the end through the Abbasid, looking at why there was change and, of course, continuities. So let's go. Everything I'm saying right now is in your text. So, during the pre-Islamic Middle Eastern era, hold on, here come the kids. Okay, the kids are going down the basement. So, early pre-Islamic Middle East, pre-Islamic Arabia. First of all, generally, people like to say that compared to Byzantium and Persia, the women of Arabia enjoyed more freedom. Khadija is a great example of this freedom. Khadija is the Prophet's wife, his older wife, who actually was a very affluent trader and helped find and worked through the Prophet Muhammad before they, if you will, fell in love. The people here, besides having economic influence, could have political influence at both the tribal level, the urban level. Their husbands are the Bedouin and they're out and about, so the people left to educate the children, to run the household, to feed the household, were the women. So another example of this is how early Islam was matrilineal, passing on family name and tradition through the woman. For example, I'm a Dramby, Jack's a Dramby. Melissa now has taken on my last name as Dramby. It'd be a different world if Melissa was a McLean and I became a McLean and Jack was then Jack McLean. That's just not how we roll, though. Another example of how during pre-Islamic Arabia there was a lot of power within the female is that there wasn't a dowry paid by the bride's family to the groom's family. It's quite the opposite. There was a bride price, just a different version of dowry, where there is a price paid to the female family to get the daughter to marry. Now, why was there change? I would generally say why there was change is because of Islam itself. When it came to the Arabian Peninsula, it brought with it the Quran and the traditions of the Prophet, the Hadiths, and all of these were general dictates that people broadly accepted. So now you have rules that took the tribal uniqueness, how every tribe was different, every clan was different, and it brought a general stroke that did favor women. So what do I mean by favoring women? Okay, so now we have the Umayyad era, the middle era. So now we are in the early to mid 600s, around 700 CE. Number one, marital bonds. Per the Quran and the Hadiths, marital bonds are stronger. There is respect demanded to the women. There's financial responsibility for your wives. I think the book says it pretty clearly that the Prophet believes that you may have multiple wives, but you have to equally financially care for every single one of them. You can't favor one in both love and money. Now, rules about bride price change where money is directly not given to a female's father, but given to the female herself. So you're bribing the woman, not bribing the woman's dad. Inheritance is now going to be granted to women so they could actually inherit land and estates. And women, if it could be proven kind of religiously and politically that the male is not taking care of his duties, that divorce is not only granted, but the male will have to pay monies out for that divorce, something we see, of course, today. Now, a change occurs again. Change occurs again because once we go through the Umayyad and the Abbasid era, we will all know that wealth and prosperity happens to the Middle East. This is because of the booty through conquering. I think that's obvious. You go conquer, and now the Abbasid and the Umayyad are going to be wealthier. But obviously through the trade, that is the Middle East. It's the gateway to the Mediterranean, the Red Sea, and of course Africa and the Indian Ocean. So now we have a wealthy elite who get to play by different rules they make up themselves. They will favor their sons because they know their sons are next in line for power within the Abbasid Empire. They can buy concubines and take care of those concubines, maybe enjoy those concubines. So they're not going to favor their daughters. They're not going to favor their wives. And this is the effect of having money. When you could buy a whole group of girls, a harem, as we're going to see later even today, then it changes you, and the role of women diminishes. Now, how does it diminish? Well, let's look at it. There's going to be an increase in seclusion. Sorry about that spelling right here. This is the beginning of the veil. Now, a lot of what I'm talking about right now is for the upper class, the elite women in the Abbasid Empire. But we know, everybody knows that's listening to this right now, things start top down. Foot binding in China started top down. Cosmetic surgery in America started top down. You follow the elite. So when the women started having to be secluded, and when women started being covering their face to go into public, well, there we go. Increase of use of slave as domestic workers and as concubines, decreases the wife's role, concubine, but also decreases working women's opportunities to go make money. I mean, if you're going to have slave labor, the same thing happened in Rome, not with generally just women, though. When you have slave labor, it's hurting your poor, both male and female. But, you know, if you're going to have a woman work in your house cleaning and it's going to be a slave, those female jobs, I'm doing rabbit ears, those female jobs will not be able to be there for the working class proletariat. Upper class has the most restraints. They're marrying at age 8, 9, and 10. They are not given the right to even work. And of course, this is just the strangling of the rise of the woman. Now, of course, continuity. This is so easy. I have one more. There we go. Political, economic, social, religiously, they were never equal. There's always been marriage rules. There's always been polygamy. And now why is there continuity? And this is just a Drambyism, I think. Traditional values are going to blend with a new monotheistic religion, which will be created and spread by men. So you take traditions such as polygamy and marriage rules, and it will spread, and it spreads through Muhammad's message. But of course, man, I'm doing rabbit ears again, man then continues the spread, and being he in power, and this is a very Marxist theory, being he in power will abuse that, as the bourgeoisie always do. All right, I'm at 9 minutes. How we all doing? I'm taking a sip of coffee. Now you can see I purposely made this lecture to look like a CCOT outline, a CCOT lecture, essay. And it's just a neat way of thinking. On the left-hand side, you see the change. But on the right-hand side, you see why the change. And of course, I think I rushed through this. There's more to it, but I think we're happy for the day. Now, more. Next, how do you create Dar al-Islam? How do you create this? I know I showed this slide in class. In the dark green is the Shia. In the lighter green is the Sunni. Now, let's just look. How did this get created? Look at this. This was not all created through conquest. Much of it was. We have the Umayyads conquering this way. We have the Abbasids and the Umayyads maintaining here. And of course we have Islam. Okay, this is what's weird. Genghis Khan comes in. As he's coming in, and you see a lot of conversion to Islam by the Mongols, now you see Islam going back out. But then we have to ask why Islam here, here, and here. And my next slide explains it. 3 things: trade plus technology plus faith. First, we have the Islamic dhow. The dhow is shown here. It's in the first page of chapter 7. It's a smaller, faster boat that dominated the trade, not necessarily in the Mediterranean, but in the Indian Ocean. It is not a large vessel. It gets replaced by larger vessels that could hold gunpowder and cannons and large crews. But the dhow is going to be what allows the merchant Arabs to spread both their wealth and their faith. Now, a lot of these dhows had 2 lateen sail. A lateen sail is a triangular sail. You'll see this one has 3. The lateen sail allows this boat to go quick and also to be controlled very easily, moving left and right, handling the waters very easily. So we have technology here and here. What you need to do is take trade, add it to the technology, but also combine it with the faith. And you will see on the map again is Sunniism spreads, but also a sect of, if you will, Shiaism, it could be Sunni, called Sufism. Sufism, let's read this. A donkey carrying a load of holy books is still a donkey. If you read this, what you'll very quickly learn about Sufism, which is a branch of Islam, is that it is very much in tune to that Buddhist ideology. Like a hint, think of the book Siddhartha. I'm talking forever. The book Siddhartha had Siddhartha saying his own father, the Brahmins, weren't really finding that peace, that serenity, that nirvana. You need to live the life, and that's why he becomes an ascetic. Okay, well, that's what Sufi are. They live a life of asceticism, very religious, very devout. Some would say very conservative, but I don't want to say politically conservative. They don't have a hierarchy like the Ayatollah. So Sufism and Sunniism spread on dhows, going quickly because of lateen sails. Now let's look at this map. It will show you how the lateen sail from East Africa through the Red Sea, through the Persian Gulf, through the southern part of Arabia, to the Indian subcontinent, all the way to what is going to be Malaysia and Indonesia and Southeast Asia. You will see Dar Islam. Let's back it up. So here is what that last map showed. All of that trade, go back, is right here. So what you could do, like if this was a DBQ and you had this picture of trade and then you had this map of Dar Islam, you would be able to generalize the spread of Islam. All right, so far we've done Islam and its spreading. We've done the role of women, and in my last one, we are going to talk about slavery. And that's a relatively inappropriate picture there. A picture of a harem, of course. I do want us to know that the Islamic world, much like the Roman world and much like the African world that of the 13th, 15th century, had slavery. During the Abbasid expansionary era, there was a lot of land taken and a lot of slaves taken, even some slaves made into mercenary fighters. Some of these armies will even have power over weak caliphs. Slaves will then, because of the Abbasid expansion, will be bought or conquered through war from the northern Caucasus region. So some of the slaves aren't actually going to be Arab or Persian at all. But some of these people being conquered or taken or bought from the Byzantine region might actually be better educated. So what you will see, and this goes back to my first lesson on women, is during the Abbasid era, the use of slaves will be expanded as male and female slaves were valued for their beauty, intelligence, and strength. Women will be purchased by the score to be working in the term harems. Now, harems did not exist pre-Islamic or Umayyad era. They only really emerge as the Abbasid Empire veered away from its moral authority and emphasized its worldliness. Men would be more in tune to their purchased female concubines than their own wives. Just a little something on slavery. I'm going to rush through this. We are at almost 17 minutes. So, in conclusion, slavery, technology, and women were the topics. Make sure you watch some John Green. I will be pulling 4 or 5 questions from this presentation to put on my next test. Love ya. Later.